Good morning.
Morning.
How we all doing? Don't ask, right? Pamela, you want to start? She just asked to say a couple words, so.
Mary's being very generous. Thank you. So I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible, but how many of you guys know about the major distribution center that's being proposed to go in, off of Kirk Road? Okay.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, so this is like, close to a done deal. I live at 760 Chandler Avenue, which, we built the house 27 years ago. It's been a bus stop for, I believe, elementary, middle school, and high school since we've been there. So just to give you a visual, we are between Division and Geneva Drive, and we are right off of Kirk Road. We're off a block. What they are proposing, and they've been doing studies for the past year and a half, we do not know the company, they won't reveal that. We don't know what they're distributing, they won't reveal that. We are 400 feet off of Kirk Road. They were required to give everybody a notice of what was happening, nobody had a notice. Last Thursday, they had a meeting that a few people found. My husband reads the paper every day. It was a little thing under the obituary, not named Geneva East, but named like North Farm something. And it was ready to be signed and gone on to the next, step. I don't know what all the steps are to the mayor, and it'll be done. They'll start breaking ground and have this up and running by August of 22. Thank God, and I don't know how close this is gonna come, but about 15 people knew about it. They went to City Hall for the meeting. They listened to the whole presentation, which was an hour and a half, and then they stayed and gave their concerns, and they were there till 11:15. We have a 2-week extension, so it'll be on Thursday, the 23rd at 7 p.m. So what I'm asking is if you guys would consider coming and bombarding the city. What they got is they got just a 2-week extension just by 15 people bringing up their concerns. The proposal was for 200 semis to go in and out of this facility. 2 hours before the meeting, it went up to 400. And it's going to be more because the extension is going to go even further. So it potentially, the hours of operation are between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. 500 semis coming in and out. There's gonna be lights, an 8-foot berm, that's it. Our backyards are gonna, facing Kirk, they're gonna be totally illuminated. My front yard is probably gonna be illuminated. And then it will have a stoplight going across the street. So from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., as if they're gonna really stop at 4 a.m., there's going to be semis, 500 to potentially 1,000 going in and out during that time. We were able to stop as Geneva residents, the apartments going on Anderson, just what was that, a year or two ago. I'm hoping, and we are all hoping, that more word gets out, that people will come to this meeting, get more extensions. They're claiming there will be no devaluating of the properties. Don't know how that can be. They made no mention of the diesel fumes, none. It will be a 24/7 operation with idling 24/7. So there's gonna be a lot of pollution in Geneva. It's going to smell, and it's going to be infrastructure and everything. It just kind of goes on and on. Their benefit that they're telling Geneva residents is that they'll be creating thousands of jobs, paying $15 an hour. Their taxes that they're gonna be paying will be under $1 million a year. The devaluation of our properties is gonna offset the taxes that we're gonna be paying on the property tax. So again, I'm just asking and begging people, spread the word, and please come to the meeting at 7 o'clock on the 23rd of this month, and let's see what we can do. Thank you so much.
What does Mayor Burns have to say?
It can't go to him until it goes through these other channels.
All right.
Did you say 7 AM or PM? PM, right, okay.
Oh, 7 p.m., thank you.
A lot of traffic on Kirk Road. All right, so, first of all, thank you. I know, we talked about this in the, start of the year, that, last year, we were all saying we just gotta get through this year. And here we are again. I feel for you, I really do. And believe me, every chance I get, I let them know, you know, the other administrators, you know, what you guys are doing as far as, you know, having to drive a school bus with a mask on. And for a week straight there, it was like, what, 100 degrees, or at least felt like it was 100 degrees outside. And not only do you not want to wear a mask, now you have to fight with the kids because they don't want to wear a mask, right? They've worn it all day and it's 100 degrees outside. Not to mention how many more kids are on the buses. You know, that taking attendance right now until you get used to those kids and who they are. So a huge thank you for sticking with us. We're gonna get to the end of this, I know we are. Accidents, we had one accident with a bus on Randall Road where a driver turned in front of our bus. So just wanna put it out there, remember, keep driving defensively. Do not trust people to not turn in front of you because you're a school bus. Unfortunately, they will. They're in a hurry, and that's all that matters. More new drivers since we met in August. Ishmael Morales, Kelly Madden. I don't think any of them are here. They're probably for the second meeting, but Bob Schlade is in training, and John Pedersen is starting training. So we have some more coming aboard. We're getting there. And a new monitor, Octavia Lewis. If you guys haven't introduced yourselves, please do so. Make them feel at home here. I've already had one of the monitors though tell me like, this is weird. It's like, you guys are like one big family here. Like, I'm not used to this. You know, where she came from, the infighting, the nobody's talking to each other, the groups separating into their own groups. She's really excited to be here and around this atmosphere, so thank you for that too. Important dates. I think those are put in your mailboxes, were they not? Yeah. Yep, you have those. If you didn't get one, come and see us. With those drivers, I listed off the new drivers and monitors. With the drivers, it will make us even for the way we have the routes set up right now. But I'm sure as you can hear over the radio, some of these drivers are consistently late. It's because we've had to package them into 3 tiers when they really should be 2-tier routes. So if we take that into consideration, breaking those routes back apart and to 2 schools, we would still need 3 more drivers. So we're getting there, 3 more. And then, what do we need? 2 more monitors?
Yes.
So, if you guys know anyone, send them our way. Field trips. I'm gonna bring it up because we're already having announced and re-announced that we need help with field trips. And just a reminder, every time someone gets hired here, it is part of the deal. We talk about it. We make sure the driver knows that field trips are part of the job. So you guys gotta jump in and help. Get us, how many do we have up there that are open right now, Matt?
A lot.
A lot.
I mean, we're up to 5 pages over there on the board just for this next week.
What is the latest time that you can get to a middle school?
The latest time you can get to a middle school field trip is,
I think
They're
4
different.
o'clock about, what do you say? By 4:05, they're calling me, so I think they expect it by 4.
that's what they would prefer, is like at 4 o'clock. But they've been working with me So I would say 4 or 10 is the latest they would prefer,
Wow.
but
Yeah, even if you think that you don't qualify for the trip, you go ahead and sign up, because we need, to get them covered, even if, those buses are going to be late. Last Tuesday, Ben Barsima, he's one of our 3 o'clock drivers, took the swim team over to West Chicago, came back and got Glenbard North or West or whatever it was, and took them over, and then the drivers who had signed up originally for the trip went back and got the students. So we're trying to find different ways to get these trips covered. So get signed up. And then I got an email from the director of transportation, which their director is over operations and maintenance and transportation, but he said that his parents that live in Batavia, so his parents, they have some of our drivers that live near them, and that our drivers are saying we don't have enough field trips to do, that we will help them do their field trips, which I don't know if it's true or not, but if somebody's saying it, it's not clearly, and it's not true. We cannot do that. We have to get our own covered first. All right, the radios on the buses, they've been working on those. I don't know if you guys have noticed. They're installing digital radios, where ours were analog. And it was really difficult to hear each other, if we could understand each other at all, which obviously is a huge, huge safety issue. We have to be able to communicate with you guys. They're hoping to be done with those today. And if they are, well, we'll go over it with you or go change them ourselves, but if yours hasn't been changed, we're gonna be on channel 2. I think we're always on 1 right now. Channel 2, correct? Telling them correctly.
once they tell us it's finished, the mechanics are gonna go through and change everybody's channels.
Right, but I was telling them if they get missed, it's
Oh,
channel
yeah.
2, switch over to, and hopefully you guys can hear us again in the office and not just it sounds like, what was it, Linus? From the Peanuts? Who was it? The teacher, yeah. It's horrible.
Oh, I slow down like this. Oh.
Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna go over the reminders, that we usually, go over. Calling in the morning is between 6 and 6:15. You have to talk to someone, you cannot leave a message. If it is something that you're dealing with the night before, so you're like, I'm in the emergency room, there's no way I'm gonna be there tomorrow, you can contact one of us. We prefer 6:15 in the morning, but if you're that ill, I get it. I don't wanna wake up at 6 o'clock and call in, right? If I already know there's no chance I'm gonna be at work the next day. But again, any emergency situations. Calling time for midday route is at least 90 minutes before your check-in, and the same as for PM, 90 minutes prior. Do not call our direct lines. So if you're calling in at 6 or 6:15 in the morning, we can't, we have phones ringing. Obviously, we have parents calling their students in. And when we have all the phones ringing like that, it makes it very difficult. Just call the main number, 3004, and then any one of us can grab it, okay? After hours, yes, you can call our direct lines. And also, when you guys are checking in from the middle schools, if you call us, call the main line, so any one of us can pick that up. High school, I have a couple routes that are dropping a little bit before 7:20, but most of you shouldn't be there before 7:20, or at least not unloading until 7:20. Middle school, we talked about this. You shouldn't be getting there before 8:20, and you shouldn't be releasing before 8:20. If you're getting there before 8:20, I'll say it again, this will be the third time though, you need to adjust your times. We do not want the kids sitting on the buses, right? So if you're getting there at 8:15 and the kids are sitting there for 5 minutes together, plus their ride in, they're gonna get contact traced, they're gonna get pulled out of school. Like, that's the complete opposite of what we want to do right now. Pull all the way around. We probably should put a picture up like we did when we did just the middle school. Yeah.
Google view of the school.
So at the middle school, you have the upside down horseshoe, right? And when you're coming in and you're unloading, you should be going all the way around to spot 1. There are 13 buses at each school. So you're gonna get into a routine where you're gonna know where you fall in, right? And if you see 10 buses that have already unloaded and you're going to south, you still need to go around, so those kids aren't walking further. Don't stop in slot 7 and make them go all the way around and then walk to north. Same thing at north though, but you're gonna stop early. You're gonna stop on the south side, right? So those kids are closer to their school. Is there anyone that has any questions about that? No? Anyone that doesn't understand, even though you're a school bus, you cannot go through another bus's stop arm? Any questions about that? Any questions at all about the unloading or loading process at the middle school? Nothing?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We need stop arms in middle schools.
We have them out because cars can get by us. But a lot of times what drivers will do is they'll stop loading or unloading if somebody needs to get in. Oh, the kids, hold on a second, shut the door. Let someone go by if they need to get by you, right? There's no sense in holding everyone up.
Right, but you press that little button on the steering wheel.
Yeah. Questions about that? Any other questions about the middle school? Nothing? So we got it all now? We don't have to fight on the radio?
We hope so.
Yeah, again, we started the year with, we're all adults here, right? Just get on the radio. Don't assume, A, that it's a veteran driver. It could be someone brand new who didn't understand how it works out there. It really, it's like synchronized swimming out there, isn't it, with the parents in the way? And so help your fellow bus driver out. At least just talk to each other in a nice tone of voice. Let's see. Use your radio, but that's pretty much what we were just talking about. Talk to each other. Find out. Are you leaving soon? If you are, then don't pull up behind that person and start unloading and leave buses stuck on Viking Drive. Just wait a couple minutes and then pull in. Alright, some of these we've gone over and over again. I'll just go through them quickly. If you have answers or questions, let me know at the end. When staging, buses should not be left running. When fueling, your bus should not be running. Repair requests, man, you're gonna go over this for the shop, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll leave that one. Again, we do not control the directions to the first stop. We do not control the directions from the last stop to the school. All we control is from the first stop to the last stop. So yes, it could give you a way to go where you're like, why would I go that way? Right, you're supposed, that's for you guys to figure out what's the best way to go. Because I can route every one of the high school buses to go down 38 and turn on Anderson. And all we're gonna do is cause a huge backup of school buses. And so some will turn before they get to Anderson. Some are coming from the east. You guys need to figure out what works. Reminder, it's 20 miles an hour on Viking Drive. If you have a question, please come in after AMs or before PMs. It is really, really hard for Angela to check drivers and to answer the radio and to answer the phone and then try to have a conversation with the driver about their route. We get it, we're here. We want to get your route fixed for you. Just don't do it during route times. Do not pull up by the office. Do not park your buses by the fuel pumps. It makes it too difficult for other buses to get in and try to get fuel. On a day like today, I get it, there's gonna be cars parked out here along the curb because of the safety meeting, but as a rule, you shouldn't be parked there. Do not back up without a spotter. You cannot use your own cleaning supplies. If you need something, come talk to us. When leaving the middle school, if you're going out, we talked about this last year with, again, just a reminder, if you're going out to Fabian and then headed east, and you're turning off, like, what is it, Bent Tree, or even, 31, just get in the left lane. Let them go around you on the right. It's been working. They just get frustrated, everybody's trying to get around a bus, then you can't get over to get into the left lane. Just let them go around you. All right, so the rest is shop stuff that I'm gonna let Matt go over. Just one last reminder that the proof of a negative test is now due Wednesday, September 22nd, and then weekly by noon on Wednesdays. Is there any questions on any of that? Anything? We're good? All right.
So, a few things from the shop. First one is pre-trip books and spray bottles. If you're in a little bus, please set them out on your seat. If you're in a big bus, please put them out on the steps. There are still a few drivers that Jeremy is having to try and track down where you're hiding this stuff at. So please leave them out. If you don't leave the spray bottle out especially, you're not gonna get any spray in there if you can't find it. When you're done at the end of the day, please make sure you're turning your key all the way off. We've had a couple that they've had to shut off at the end of the day because the keys are left on. And make sure you are shutting your bay door if you are the last one in of you and whoever's next to you. And last but not least is pre-trips. When you're doing your pre-trip sheets and filling them out, we have had people still putting comments of issues with the bus on the bottom of the pre-trip sheet. If you do that, your bus is down. You cannot legally drive that bus. So if it is a safety concern, you can go ahead and write it on there, but you gotta let the mechanic know before you leave. That is not a legal bus until they sign off on it. That's what the repair requests are for. If it's not a safety concern, you just write it on the repair request and they'll get to it as soon as they can. Any questions? All right, so we have GCNs to get done. We have 4 left, so we're gonna do 2 of them today and 2 of them next month.
HB 3869 will require school staff to receive in-service training on implicit racial bias. This act takes effect July 1st, 2017, and amends Section 5 of the school code and adds sections 10-20.60 and 34-18.53. The amendments will be shown for implicit bias training over the next several slides. A, the General Assembly makes the following findings. 1, implicit racial bias influences evaluations of and behavior toward those who are the subject of bias. 2, understanding implicit racial bias is needed to reduce that bias. 3, marginalized students would benefit from having access to educators who have worked to reduce their biases. 4, training that helps educators overcome implicit racial bias has implications for classroom interactions, student evaluation, and classroom engagement. It also affects student academic self-concept. B, each school board shall require in-service training for school personnel to include training to develop cultural competency, including understanding and reducing implicit racial bias. C, implicit racial bias means a preference, positive or negative, for a racial or ethnic group that operates outside of awareness. This bias has 3 different components: affective, behavioral, and cognitive. On the next 3 slides, we will define the 3 different components of bias. The first definition is affective, and according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is relating to, arising from, or influencing feelings of emotions, expressing emotion, affective language, behaviors that elicit affective reactions. The second definition is behavioral, and according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary is 1, the way in which one conducts oneself. 2, the way in which something as a machine behaves. 3, anything that a living being does that involves action and response to stimulation. The third and final definition is cognitive, and according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary is 1, of, relating to, being, or involving conscious intellectual activity, such as thinking, reasoning, or remembering. Cognitive impairment. 2, based on or capable of being reduced to empirical, factual knowledge. This amendment to the school code will require in-service training for school personnel to include training on civil rights and in cultural diversity, including racial and ethnic sensitivity and implicit racial bias. Implicit bias describes the automatic association people make between groups of people and stereotypes about those groups. Under certain conditions, these automatic associations can influence behavior, making people to respond in biased ways even when they are not explicitly prejudiced. Implicit bias can be expressed in relation to non-racial factors, including gender, age, religion, or sexual orientation. As with all types of bias, implicit bias can distort one's perception and subsequent treatment either in favor of or against a given person or group. Being a teacher, you recognize the future that rests on the shoulders of those students you are teaching and investing your time in. Their education, health, and overall well-being benefits society both now and in the future. In this desire to do your best for them is why teachers should become aware of the concept of implicit bias. The attitudes or stereotypes that affect your understanding, actions, and decisions is an unconscious manner. Operating outside of your conscious awareness, implicit biases are pervasive and can challenge even the most well-intentioned teacher, resulting in actions and outcomes that do not necessarily align with explicit intentions. Implicit biases are often unconscious and involuntarily activated. You are not even aware they exist, but they have tremendous impact on your decision making. They can be activated by how you perceive others, such as race, ethnicity, gender, or age. Everyone has these implicit biases. Teachers are more susceptible to the influence of these unconscious biases based on interpretation, incomplete information, time constraints, and circumstances in the classroom. Implicit biases can also shape teacher expectations of student achievement. Implicit racial bias plays a role in many classrooms and schools with potentially devastating effects. A 2010 study examined teachers' implicit and explicit ethnic biases and found that their implicit, not explicit, biases were responsible for different expectations of achievement for their students from different backgrounds. In an article published October 28, 2016 by Jill Sutton, she discussed 4 ways educators could reduce implicit bias. The next section of slides will discuss them. Cultivate awareness of your bias. Work to increase your empathy and empathic communication. Practice mindfulness and loving kindness. Develop cross-group friendships in the lives of your students. Teachers are human. It is easy to assume others behave a certain way because of their character, a fixed trait, rather than in response to environmental circumstances. This leads us to assign positive characteristics and motivations to people who are like us. These biases are natural and used as a cognitive shorthand for making quick social judgmental situations, especially involving those from unfamiliar ethnic or social groups. In becoming more aware of your biases, it can help improve interactions with others, decrease your sense of unease in interracial contexts, and make better decisions. Many teachers feel pressures not to cop to these biases out of fear of being accused of racism. Admitting that we are subject to biases creates a safer place to examine them more carefully and take the steps needed to fight them. Empathy is the ability to understand another's perspective and emotions. It is important in all human social encounters, including teaching. Some teachers may have little understanding of the communities where their students live and have trouble understanding their perspectives, leading them to treat these students more harshly or differently. Actively inducing empathy for another person has been tied to a willingness to consider environmental circumstances more closely when handing out punishments for misbehavior. Teachers may want to take note of ways other professionals have learned to increase empathy through a combination of stress reduction, learning how to manage difficult emotions, and practicing empathic communication. These techniques can assist your understanding of the biases that may seem hidden to you, but show when dealing with situations in the classroom. Treating students with kindness and consideration is a sure way of bringing out the kindness in them, too. Mindfulness practice, such as paying attention in a non-judgmental way to one's breath or other sensations, has been shown to decrease stress in teachers, which can indirectly influence reducing bias. Non-judgmental awareness, even when not specifically focused on reducing prejudice, can help reduce unconscious biases. Loving kindness meditation is a practice that involves consciously sending out compassionate thoughts toward others, which can also help. In a recent study, the random assignment of a short-term loving kindness meditation reduced implicit bias toward a targeted group, though it did not decrease implicit bias for other groups not targeted by the meditation. By just becoming more aware of your own thought process when dealing with the students in your care can substantially change the way you think and react with them. The relationships formed outside the classroom can also have an impact on bias. Cross-group friendships have been shown to decrease stress in intergroup situations, to decrease prejudice toward out-group members, and to decrease one's preference for social hierarchy or domination over lower status groups. In having cross-group friendships, as a teacher, you may find you become more receptive to the diversity of the students in your classrooms. Once you develop cross-group friendships and can see the benefits of these friendships, you can influence your students to do the same. Cross-group friendships can have a contagion effect in other people within social groups. turning whole communities into warmer, more receptive spaces for cross-group interactions. This bodes well for teachers role modeling the kind of behavior you want the students to see. Reach out to colleagues at work, get involved in activities, or perhaps attend events where people with different backgrounds and perspectives come together for a common cause. Developing friendships is the best way to break down barriers of biases and prejudices. Society places a lot of burden on teachers because the teachers spend almost half of a child's day with them. And society feels the role of a teacher should be much like that of a parent. Teachers should get more support than they do, and school districts should make reducing implicit bias a priority, backed up with money, policy, and training, and that is what Illinois is doing now. Teachers go into this profession because they want to make a difference in the lives of their students by making them feel safe, cared for, and welcome in their classroom. These children are much like a sponge, and some of everything you teach, show, and share with them. They can see and sense how your actions do not always match what you teach them, how you treat them or specific individuals or groups in the classroom. They are more aware of the implicit biases than you are. This must change. When you make these changes within yourselves, the students will see the difference, and their behaviors will also begin changing. With the passing of HB 3869, implicit bias training will start to change the atmosphere and attitudes in the classroom, beginning with the teacher. Diversity will be more understood and accepted, and our thought process will be more understood. Understanding your implicit biases will result in a stronger, more positive class environment.
Just some additional resources if you want the email addresses or the websites for those. Implicit bias can distort one's perception and subsequent treatment either in favor of or against a given person or group. True or false? Implicit biases are often conscious and intentionally activated. True or false? I go with false. We got more people saying that. And that is correct. Which one of the four is not a way to reduce implicit bias? A, do not develop any cross-group friendships in your own life. B, work to increase your empathy and empathetic communication. C, practice mindfulness and loving kindness. D, cultivate awareness of your own bias. Cross-group friendships can be a contagion effect in other people within social groups, turning whole communities into warmer, more receptive spaces for cross-group interactions. True or false? The goal of HB 3869 is to develop cultural competency, including understanding and reducing implicit bias / racial bias. True or false? All right, we just have one more. We're gonna do identity theft.
Identity theft is an increasingly common crime in which a criminal obtains a victim's personal identifying information, PII, with the intent of committing fraud or other crimes. With the advent of each new technology, the possibilities for identity theft is constantly evolving, so that more and more people are being affected and need protection, whether it is from the federal or state governments or through protective services. The federal government and many state governments have enacted identity protection legislation. Being aware of how to protect personal and professional information and being alert to a breach in that protection are the most important ways for individuals to eliminate potential risks of losing their identity to another individual. It is proactive for municipalities, including schools, to plan ahead so all information, professional and personal, is safe. In this tutorial, you will learn the objectives shown on the screen. Discussion of identity theft in general. federal statutes protecting identity, how a person's identity is stolen, what can be done to prevent theft, or what can be done in the case of suspected or known theft, and Identity Protection Act, one state's response to identity protection. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, suggests identity theft occurs when someone uses your personally identifying information, like your name, social security number, or credit card number, without your permission to commit fraud or other crimes. The FTC estimates that as many as 9 million Americans have their identity stolen each year. Identity theft takes many forms. Identity thieves may rent an apartment, obtain a credit card, or establish a telephone account in your name. The victim may not find out about the theft until they review their credit report or credit card statement and notice charges they didn't make, or until they are contacted by a debt collector. Identity theft is serious. While some identity theft victims can resolve their problems quickly, others spend hundreds of dollars and many days repairing damage to their good name and credit record. Some consumers victimized by identity theft may lose job opportunities or be denied loans for education, housing, or cars because of negative credit reports. In rare cases, they may even be arrested for crimes they did not commit. A wide range of federal laws relating to identity theft are grouped into 4 categories. Identity theft laws to criminalize the act of identity theft. False identification laws to deal with fraud with personal identifying documents. Privacy and personal data laws to regulate how personal identifying information, PII, is collected and disseminated. And credit laws, which impact victims' credit ratings and limit liability for unauthorized debts. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, HIPAA, requires healthcare providers and insurers to create and maintain electronic patient records in order to improve confidentiality and efficiency. The confidentiality provisions limit the way doctors, health plans, pharmacies, hospitals, and medical providers use patients' medical information. The Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act was the first piece of federal legislation to deal directly with identity theft. For the first time, ID theft became a named federal crime, making it easier for law enforcement to prosecute. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA, also known as the Financial Services Modernization Act of 1999, provides limited privacy protections against the sale of consumer financial information. The Internet False Identification Act expanded fraudulent identification document crime to include document transfer by electronic means. One of the main goals of the act was to end the distribution of counterfeit identification documents over the web, enabling law enforcement agencies to pursue those who sell counterfeit Social Security cards. The Social Security Confidentiality Act of 2000 prohibits displaying Social Security numbers on unopened checks or other Treasury-issued drafts. Identity theft starts with the misuse of an individual's personally identifying information, such as their name and Social Security number, credit card numbers, or other financial account information. For identity thieves, this information is as good as gold. Skilled identity thieves may use a variety of methods to obtain this information. These are detailed in the next several slides. How do thieves steal your identity? By rummaging through trash looking for bills or other paper with an individual's personal information on it. Stealing credit or debit card numbers by using a special storage device when processing an individual's card. Pretending to be financial institutions or companies, sending spam or pop-up messages to get an individual to reveal their personal information. Diverting an individual's billing statements to another location by completing a change of address form. Stealing wallets and purses, mail, including bank and credit card statements, pre-approved credit offers, and new checks or tax information, or using false pretenses to obtain an individual's personal information from financial institutions, telephone companies, and other sources. Once they have an individual's personal information, identity thieves use it in a variety of ways. Open new credit card accounts in an individual's name. When they use the cards and don't pay the bills, the delinquent accounts appear on the victim's credit report. Change the billing address on the individual's credit card so that they no longer receive bills and then run up charges on the account. Because the bills are now sent to a different address, it may be some time before the victim realizes there is a problem. Open a new phone or wireless account in an individual's name or run up charges on their existing account. use an individual's name to get utility services like electricity, heating, or cable TV. They may create counterfeit checks using an individual's name or account number. Open a bank account in an individual's name and write bad checks. Clone an individual's ATM or debit card and make electronic withdrawals, draining the victim's accounts. Take out a loan in another individual's name. They may get a driver's license or official ID card issued in the victim's name, but with their picture on it. Use an individual's name and social security number to get government benefits. File a fraudulent tax return using an individual's information. Get a job using another individual's social security number. Rent a house or get medical services using another individual's name. Give another individual's personal information to the police during an arrest. If they don't show up for the court date, a warrant for arrest is issued in the victim's name. The best and most proactive way for an individual to find out if their identity has been stolen is to monitor their accounts and bank statements each month and to check their credit report on a regular basis. If they check their credit report regularly, they may be able to limit the damage caused by identity theft. Unfortunately, many consumers learn that their identity has been stolen after considerable damage has been done. Alternatively, a person may find out that their identity has been stolen when bill collection agencies contact them for overdue debts they never incurred, when they apply for a mortgage or car loan and learn that problems with their credit history are holding up the loan, or when they get something in the mail about an apartment they have never rented, a house they have never bought, or a job they never had. Filing a police report, checking credit reports, notifying creditors, and disputing any unauthorized transactions are some of the steps that must be taken immediately to restore the good name of an identity theft victim. Awareness, however, is the most effective weapon against many forms of identity theft. Be aware of how information is stolen and what can be done to protect personal information. Monitor personal information to uncover any problems quickly, and know what to do when it is suspected that an identity has been stolen. Place a fraud alert on their credit reports and review their credit reports closely. Close the accounts that are known or are believed to have been tampered with or opened. File a report with the police in the community where the identity theft took place. File a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. For more information on identity theft, visit this website. An identity theft report may have two parts. One, a copy of a report filed with a local, state, or federal law enforcement agency, like the local police department, state attorney general, the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, the FTC, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. Two, the second part of the identity theft report depends on the policies of the consumer reporting company and the information provider, the business that sent the information to the consumer reporting company. That is, they may ask the victim to provide information or documentation in addition to that included in the law enforcement report. This and the next several slides provide tips for organizing a theft identification case. 1. Have a plan when contacting a company. 2. Don't assume that the person at the company will give all the information or help that is needed. 3. Prepare a list of questions to ask the representative, as well as information about the particular identity theft. 4. Don't end the call until everything that has been shared is understood. If more help is needed, ask to speak to a supervisor. 5. Write down the name of everyone talked to, what he or she says, and the date the conversation occurred. 6. Follow up in writing with all contacts made on the phone or in person. 7. Use certified mail, return receipt requested, so there is documentation of what the company or organization received and when. 8. Keep copies of all correspondence or forms sent, and keep the originals of supporting documents, like police reports and letters to and from creditors. Send copies only. 9. Set up a filing system for easy access to the paperwork, and keep old files even if the case is closed. Once resolved, most cases stay resolved, but problems can crop up. This slide provides some federal resources. Social Security Administration, SSA. Internal Revenue Service, IRS. Federal Trade Commission, FTC. Department of Justice, DOJ. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. U.S. Secret Service, USSS. Many states have passed laws making identity theft a crime. or providing help in recovery from identity theft. Others are considering such legislation. Where specific criminal identity theft laws do not exist, the practices may be prohibited under other laws. Contact the State Attorney General. For a list of state offices, visit this website, or local consumer protection agency for laws related to identity theft. The Identity Protection Act, effective June 1st, 2010, outlines in what ways Social Security numbers are allowed and not allowed to be used. The Act limits access to Social Security numbers in an attempt to help protect against identity theft. The Illinois Identity Protection Act provides that officers or employees of state or local governments may not intentionally communicate or make available to the general public an individual's SSN. Print an individual's SSN on any card required for the individual to access products or services provided by the state or local governments. Require an individual to transmit his or her Social Security number over the Internet. Print an individual's SSN on any materials that are mailed to the individual through the U.S. Postal Service, any private mail service, electronic mail, or a similar method of delivery, unless the law requires the SSN to be on the document to be mailed. Collect, use, or disclose an SSN from an individual, unless required to do so under state or federal law, where the collection, use, or disclosure of the SSN is necessary for the performance of that officer's or employee's duties. Collect an SSN until the need and purpose for the SSN is documented, and it is determined that the SSN collected is relevant to the need and purpose. Require an individual to use his or her SSN to access an internet website, or use the Social Security number of an individual for any purpose other than the purpose for which it was collected. A number of exceptions to the Act are provided in the statute. The most notable exceptions are: entities may disclose SSNs to other governmental agencies or to its own agents, employees, contractors, and subcontractors if the disclosure is necessary in order for the entity to perform its duties and responsibilities. SSNs may be disclosed as part of documents requested pursuant to a valid court order, warrant, or subpoena. SSNs may be collected, used, and disclosed to ensure the safety of state and local governmental employees, as well as prisoners, wards of the state, and persons working in or visiting state or local governmental facilities. State and local agencies may collect, use, and disclose SSNs for internal verification or administrative purposes. This would appear to include any payroll and tax purposes. SSNs may be collected and used to investigate or prevent fraud, to conduct background checks, to collect debts, to obtain credit reports from consumer reporting agencies, to locate missing persons or lost relatives, or to locate persons who are due governmental benefits, such as pension benefits. All local government agencies, including schools, must adopt an identity protection policy to comply with the Act. The policy must require all employees with access to SSNs to receive training on protecting the confidentiality of SSNs, including instructions on properly handling information containing SSNs from the time of collection to the time of destruction. Direct that only employees who are required to use or handle information or documents containing SSNs have access to such information or documents. Require that SSNs requested from an individual be provided in a format that allows SSNs to be easily redacted if required to be released as part of a public records request. Require the governmental agency to set forth a statement of the purpose or purposes for which the agency is collecting and using the SSNs when collecting SSNs from individuals. The agency must advise its employees of the existence of the policy, and a copy of the policy must be made available to employees and the general public on request. Identity theft is a growing problem, and there are federal and state laws that protect an individual's identity. This tutorial will discuss identity theft, how a person's identity is stolen, and what thieves do with the information they take. Governmental agencies, including schools, must have a policy protecting an employee's Social Security number, and all staff having access to this information must be trained in prohibitions.
Identity theft occurs when someone uses personally identifying information like name, social security number, or credit card number without your permission to commit fraud or other crimes. True or false? There are no federal or state laws to protect one's identity due to changes in technology. True or false? Identity theft can be easily recognized, and there is no need to monitor financial transactions on a regular basis. Yes or no? All right, that is all we have for today. You guys are free to go. Good, how are you?
Put him in isolation. But then they said, you have to wait here. I'm like, I don't think I can bring him back. But he said she goes, oh, you just call mom. Yeah, her place. I'm like,
Call the parents.
but this is the day off.
How's it going?
Can't wait to get a new big bus next year.
Figured you try it out, now you know what it's all about.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's gonna be made for a long year, unless another route opens up for you.
Well, no, once you take a sled route, you can't fit on a lift.
Oh, really? Oh,
Can't bid on field trips either.
Oh, you can't. That really changes everything.
Right? Little things you don't, you find out.
After the fact.